One of these conversations that is really interesting with funders is to say, look, we're not asking you to chuck the idea of scaling an idea that might be beneficial. If there's something beneficial and it can scale in an authentic human way that doesn't diminish the role of the consumer in that, then for sure, scale good things. There are a lot fewer things that really qualify when you get deep on it than I think should. And I think our mechanisms for thinking about scale are incredibly lazy in this particular movement.
Because everybody wants the cheapest, fastest.
Well, I think what we do is we think that the way to scale is to give the expert operator all of the control, right? So, for example, if you think about how does, I'm going to use, let's use Airbnb versus Hilton, right? There's a lot of like moral ambiguity in some of these business models. And so I acknowledge that in picking this example. But it took Hilton 100 years to get the same number of room nights that Airbnb took 4 years to get to.
Wow.
And so that's scale and speed. And the basic idea in the business model is that I don't need to own the assets to give people nights of accommodation, right? So Hilton does, and so yes, today Hilton doesn't own all their buildings, but the construct was, I'm a hotel operator, I have a building, and I need that's what it is. And so you stay there, and it's my building. And now, granted, they've evolved, and there's branding and licensing and stuff like that, so they don't own all their buildings that say Hilton on them, but that's the basic idea. And I think, sadly, of the defining constructs of philanthropy and education reform today, it is an undue bias towards the ownership of an idea or a model, and the belief that we'll just give the resource to that entity and it will be like Hilton. It will be a hotel. And so the way to get room nights to children who need room nights is to say, Hilton, go buy as many buildings as you can and put as many Hiltons up as you want.
Follow the traditional model.
And if Hilton, and yes, this is code for insert charter management operator, said, hey, what if I thought about maybe providing room nights in an unconventional way, the way Airbnb does, through assets that aren't on my balance sheet? My worry is that many funders would say, whoa, that's a little scary. Let's just focus on the building.
What are they scared about? So is it a sense of momentum that they go, we have these mega institutions, they're established relationships, it's a question of expanding market in a sense. What's the fear? What does somebody tell you when they look at you and you go?
Myself. So for me, one fear is what we're really trafficking in is power redistribution. And so I think to not acknowledge that many of these mechanisms of funding the improvement of school through mechanisms that are still tightly concentrated and not fundamentally about redistributing power is just one thing to just note. This is it. When we're talking about structure, it is hard. You cannot talk about schooling in America and not talk about structural racism. It is, by definition, so much of what determines where a child goes to school, whether that's public or private, or redlining and housing policy, or criminal justice and incarceration and school discipline. These things are all connected.
It's interwoven.
They're all interwoven.
The social fabric.
They're all woven in, and I think it is very difficult to come up with a strategy for distributing your money that effectively, even if you wanted to dismantle it and you were aware of that, it's daunting.
Sure.
To say, how do I unbolt all this stuff? And so I think it's just easier, and there's still some marginal benefit to saying, I'm going to pick this Hilton hotel strategy, and at least Hilton's telling me that they can put a lot of buildings up.